Hello, everyone, and welcome to my podcast series. In today's episode, I'll be discussing David A. Williams' article, Another Perspective: The iPad is a Real Musical Instrument. Let's get started. This article looks at the iPad's role as a musical instrument through a live performance ensemble called Touch, a hybrid quintet chamber ensemble. Williams states that the iPad is useful in many ways, as a way to help reach students with special needs, as a part of a social constructivism approach in music classrooms, and as a use for creativity and performance. Unfortunately, there are people who don't view this method of learning in a high regard. To quote William, a survey comment from an anonymous music teacher about a recent state music conference echoes this position. Each year, it seems there are more sessions and performances that do not align with what our core mission is as music educators. iPad ensembles and rock bands are not the direction that we should be heading. We need to be seeking out students and exposing them to quality art. Now, let's unbox that. Classical music has a reputation of being elitist, and those who are classical musicians can be seen as snobs. I'm going to be honest, there was a time where I thought like this. Being born in 1995, I grew up with technology changing all around me, and I often judged music that wasn't performed with real instruments. I've come to appreciate the hard work that digital music requires, and I have grown to love it. So, regardless of how students are learning music, it is still music education. Having a blend of contrasting music styles and genres only adds to the capabilities of a musician. William provides an excellent rebuttal to the survey. He suggests that there are 6 attributes shared by both the iPad and other musical instruments. They both have the ability to be played well as poorly. Practice is necessary to become a good player, as well as building technique. There are limitations on what the player can perform, and it'll do nothing if a person doesn't touch it. Since European classical music has been the standard in classroom music education, other musical styles, genres, and instruments are having a hard time making their way into the classroom. Just look at jazz music. It was huge in the 1930s, but didn't make its way into the school system until the 70s. Even digital music, which emerged in the 80s, is being challenged to this day because of classical tradition. We're essentially catering to a style that is no longer popular or relevant in today's culture. It's time to advocate for more variety in music classes. Even with my experience at Western, there are no opportunities to learn jazz vocal techniques. I'm disappointed that a music school could have such little options for learning music. There's an intro to jazz course as well as an instrumental jazz ensemble, but there definitely needs to be so much more. There are 3 goals for Touch. The first is music performance. This includes ensuring the sound matches perfectly to the piece, which often requires different apps to get the perfect tone. Second is collaboration. They do this by working with a variety of artists. They hope to see music engineered specifically for iPad instruments, which would help them with the legitimization of the iPad as a musical instrument. The third goal is about audience participation. They do this by getting the audience to get up on their feet and moving, clapping, and singing. The audience is also encouraged to use video and flash photography. This is unheard of during classical concerts. Members are expected to remain silent with no recording whatsoever and absolutely no clapping in between movements. Williams goes on to say that the focus of what Touch does as an ensemble is not the iPad, but instead it's the emphasis on the pedagogy, as it can be accomplished with any instrument, and it's an example of what music could look like in schools, reflecting on how students experience music outside of the school. Williams says that it's a process of music making that differs from the traditional school model in 4 important ways. Musician autonomy. Students perform covers and originals and suggest pieces to perform. The process is very interactive, as each musician has the ability to make musical choices and to add to the ensemble. Compared to traditional music programs, the teacher has all or most of the control by choosing the music and how it's performed. As well, it has a limitation of 1 instrument. Ensemble size. The quintet works well, yet music can be accomplished between duos and trios, and things get tricky when you have more than 5 people. It would lose the interactive dynamic of each person bringing something to the piece, which wouldn't work in a classical setting. Oral and oral process. They primarily learn through an oral process by ear. Even though all of the members are classically trained and can read standard notation, their method is much more effective. This helps students become better musicians, as listening skills are the key to developing lifelong musicians. Concerts. Touch performs a wide range of genres and styles to perform, including rap, heavy metal, African drumming, and more. This model could be well suited for students using any type of instruments, which would attract students who aren't interested in standard music education. These models have been employed in schools of the United Kingdom, Scandinavia, and Australia. It is proven to have a positive impact on student participation and retention, student attitudes, self-esteem, on-task behavior, and the development of a greater range of musical skills and higher levels of musical understanding. And that's it. This was one of the articles that I enjoyed reading the most. I had a few assumptions of this article before I read it, and I was surprised at how much information I took away from this. Williams provides that the iPad is an actual instrument, a concept I would have struggled with when I was in my teens. I'm extremely impressed with how much time, dedication, and effort it takes to be an iPadist, and I can really appreciate it as an art form. It also clarified some gaps in my learning at Western and the lack of diversity in the music program. I'm equally impressed in the pedagogy and ability to enhance listening skills. As a vocalist, intervals and sight singing are a huge part of singing, so having these oral skills and developing them is something that I truly appreciate and admire. I've learned that all instruments, regardless of their composition and technology, are worthy of study and belong in a world where technology advances so quickly. In my own teaching, I will strive to work on eliminating these biases and incorporating a variety of genres and styles in my own classroom to ensure that students become well-rounded musicians. And that's all for today. Thanks for stopping by, and see you next time.